Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. As you just saw from that little montage, we've got some new parts to bolt onto the front of the Corvette. As you guys can see, it's obviously on the lift, and we've got some new parts. Now these new parts is a camber adjustment plate kit specifically for a C6 Corvette with the Z06 or the ZR1 with the magnesium front subframe. The plates themselves are physically wider and different than the base model C6, the Grand Sport, the Z51, and the base model, as well as the C5, Z06, C5 base, and all that. The plates and bolt system for the rear subframe will all be the same for a C5 or a C6. It doesn't matter on base model, Z06, Grand Sport, whatever. They're all going to be the same in the rear. And these are going to be your front plates. Obviously, the front's going to be wider than the rear. And yes, we are missing a kit, but that's because I've already installed one kit on the passenger side on the Corvette. And yeah. And here are the set of instructions. We picked these up from a buddy of mine here locally. His company is named After Dark Speed. And he gives you a full set of instructions on how to install them, as well as the torque specs. I believe it's listed at 125. So this install really should not take that long. You're really only going to need two tools, and that's going to be a 21mm socket and a wrench for the stock bolts. The aftermarket hardware, this grade 10 hardware, grade 10.9 hardware, is actually, I believe, a 22mm. So pretty simple, 22mm socket, a wrench, and a 22mm wrench, as well as a set in 21. That's pretty much all we're going to need, and we can go ahead and get started on this. But did kind of want to go into why we are doing this upgrade kit. You guys have seen that we've torn the suspension out on this car like twice now. We did the bushings, we did the brakes, we did the coilovers. We've done all kinds of modifications to the car, but we've kind of left the stock hardware underneath the lower control arms for the front and back. Well, basically, when I had the stock subframe is actually, the front stock subframe is actually in that box. When I actually had that set up a couple of years ago, I noticed that the front bolts had actually loosened up. I was turning the suspension by hand on the front driver's wheel, actually, and once it, should have stopped, well, it kept going. The front hardware had loosened up, and the stock concentric bolts on the lower control arms like to loosen up. I've seen a lot of complaints about this on Corvette forum, the various Corvette groups on Facebook. A lot of people have actually run into this issue. It doesn't matter whether it's a C5 or a C6, but that is a problem that does occur with the stock hardware. And like I said, I ran into that myself a couple years ago with the stock subframe, the aluminum subframe. The magnesium subframe, honestly guys, we haven't put enough miles on the car to have a problem, but I've got to go get an alignment soon, and yeah, so to help prevent that problem, I was looking into the front hardware to see if there was a kit existing for a Z06. Now, there are some kits out there. I'm not going to mention any names, but there are other kits out there. But I reached out to Ryan Matthews, the owner of After Dark Speed, and I saw that he was local. I sent him a message and I said, hey, I noticed you have C5 and C6 base model stuff, but I don't see any of the wide body, the ZR1, the Z06. I don't see any of the performance models for the C6. And I said, hey, I've got a C6, a ZR1 subframe on my car. The car's not going anywhere anytime soon. Would you be interested in developing a kit for a C6, Z06, and ZR1? And he's like, sure. So Ryan has been very busy with his day job, as well as winning SCCA races. He's won several. He just won. He's got an 02 Corvette Z06, C5 Z06, and he just won a vintage class race. I'm not sure if it was Optima Street Car or was it SCCA. It was one of those divisions. I'm not sure. I'll have that information down below. But he just won a national title in that, and so to help him provide more kits for his Corvettes, he teamed up with myself, and we got this kit developed, and this is actually kit number 001. They're not serialized or anything, but this is the first production kit from After Dark Speed for a C6, Z06, and ZR1. Now, like I said, the front is wider, so it is new hardware, new camber plates. The back are all the same, whether it's a base model, Z06 Grand Sport, you know, whatever. So, all right, guys, so we're taking the front hardware off. We actually have to take off the 21mm concentric bolts and nuts from the front and lower control arm. You don't have to take the wheel off the car, but I'm actually under the car on the lift, so I've got plenty of room to get these off. That just might be something you should be aware of. Like, you don't have to take the wheels off, but, you know, it would provide you the most room. And yeah, so that should come off. Yeah, anyway, so we'll have to hammer that out. We got that off. It's a 21mm nut and bolt like we're talking about. Then we've got to do the same for the rear. All right, so you guys will see that I have the stock hardware removed, and I have the After Dark Speed camber plate as well as the new hardware. So basically what you're going to do with this install, you're going to put the plate on, you're going to have a washer and then the new bolt. You stick that in the control arm like so. And you guys will see I have this actually at 0 degrees camber. So up here you'll see a 0 mark. That's where we're going to set it for now. And you're going to put that in place. So you guys will see that the plate isn't 100% sitting in the channel. Well, that's just because the control arm is sitting a little bit cockeyed in the subframe. So we actually need to take out the back bolt and put that kit in as well. Then we'll use a big screwdriver or whatever to maneuver the control arm around to get it so that this will sit flush in here. So we've got the front kind of installed. Let's go ahead and get the back kit removed, and we'll get this kit finished up on the front driver's side. All right, so we got the rear bolt out for the lower control arm for the front driver's side lower. Now we're ready to put the rear plate in. And like I said, we're going to have this one straight up at 0 for now. And there's different theories about, you know, different camber adjustment, whatever. Right now, I'm just going to install them at 0. I need to look at my suspension guidelines and see what, you know, what degree we want to set the front camber at. All right, so we got the camber plate installed at 0 position, kind of like we said. New hardware put in. And this is how Ryan wants you to put the plates in. He wants the bolts facing the inside and have them facing the front and the back of the car. So now for the hardware side of this, the back side of this, you're gonna want you to put your plate with the, it's kind of D-shaped, so put the D-shaped, have that going down. Slide that in there, that'll fit inside the groove. There you go, that one's fitting perfect. You're gonna put your washer on there. Then you're gonna put your nylock locking nut on there and tighten all that down. All right, so that's kind of a rough shape of what the front's gonna look like. I need to, obviously, I moved the rear control arm, and you know, that's sitting in just fine, but I need to maneuver this front one in so that we're flush and everything is sitting properly within the channel. All right, guys, we have the bolts finally torqued and everything's installed properly. All right, guys, the rear install is pretty much going to be the same. We've got to take the bolt out. There's a nut up front. Take that whole assembly out. We'll replace it with the After Dark Speed hardware as well as our adjustable camber plates. And I'm not sure if you guys can see this one, but we're going to set the rear at 0 camber as well. So we've got the stock bolt removed, and we're basically just going to put the new hardware in like we said and get that in. We get the front D-shaped piece put on there as well. And kind of like I said in the front, I'm going to have to push this in and out. What I'm talking about is the control arm. We'll get it lined up, and that way the retainer plates, the camber adjuster plates, are locked in within the channels of the subframe. Alright, so we have switched over to the new hardware, the 22mm or the 7/8 size, and we're basically just going to tighten this down. Alright, so that is tight but not torqued down. Now we need to torque this to the 125 foot-pounds using a torque wrench. Alright, there you go, guys. The back hardware has been installed. Try to get you a better shot of that. There's the front D piece. And here's the back camber plate. Like we said, it's on 0 camber in the back. Alright guys, so that's going to be it for the camber plate install as well as the new hardware from After Dark Speed. You know, there's only 6 bolts. The rear control arm bolts on the bottom are non-adjustable. That is actually the lower mount for the rear sway bar. So that is non-adjustable. You do not replace those. You just replace the front lower rear control arm bolt and both lower control arm bolts up front on the driver and passenger side. That's where all the camber adjustment comes from with the alignment. And obviously your toe is going to come from the tie rods. You know, that's where your other adjustment's going to come from. So like I said earlier in the video, we just put everything at 0 for now. I'm actually working on another product with After Dark Speed with Ryan. So we're obviously not done with all the adjustment to the suspension. I think we're good ride height, but I think we are going to eventually, you know, throw in an 1/8 inch, 1/4 inch, whatever of adjustment on the camber. And because I was looking at my specs from Fott Racing from forever ago, their Performance Street Alignment Kit recommends between -0.7 and -0.9 degrees of camber. We should be able to adjust that on the plates, and we'll give you all that information when we finalize everything for the alignment video. But Ryan will actually be coming over here and working on another product. So we'll have another project together in the future, so that should be here shortly. And that's going to be it for today's video. Oh, and one more thing. The install probably took an hour, if that. It's just 6 bolts. There's really no adjustment there. You might have to get a tire iron and move the control arm in and out depending on how bad your alignment is from the factory. And yeah, so like, and if I wasn't filming, you could probably knock this out in 45 minutes. Like I said, it's simply remove 6 bolts, torque everything down to 125 foot-pounds, put it to the adjustment that you want, you know, the degree of camber in and out, and go from there. So that's actually it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys want to see that next project with After Dark Speed with Ryan, make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you guys want to see the alignment video, make sure you turn your bell notifications on as well. And if you guys want to help support Ryan, go check out AfterDarkSpeed.com. And if you guys want to help support our channel, check out BonecrrusherSS.com. Thanks, guys. Have a great one.